Hey, how you doing? It's William Wycrow again. I want to talk to you about something. I want to talk to you about communication. See, there's one thing that's very important in the middle of a disaster, and that is communication, of course. We want to communicate with our loved ones, and if a disaster happens, and you hear my radios in the background, that's what we're going to talk about. And you hear about disaster, and you can know about these disasters ahead of time if you know what to do. I use many different types of radios. I'm in communication with the world. I keep a scanner around just in case of fires or emergency situations like that, storms, different things coming to us, and it's very important to know things ahead of time. So if we hear something on the scanner like a fire ahead of time, we're preparing. We're already contacting neighbors and everything. Now I want to talk about something. If your power should go down all of a sudden and you're living in the city and everything, how are you going to communicate? Sure, you'll have your cell phones and things like that, but I want to talk about a few things here. I'm going to show you each unit, each radio here. We're going to be talking about CB radio, shortwave radios, handheld radios, scanners, cell phones, computer. We're going to talk a little bit about everything. And it's very important that you listen very well, because every single one of these systems can be ran on 12 volts or less. That's right. And it's important for you to understand that. If your repeaters are down in the mountains and everything around you because of storms, how are you going to communicate? How are you going to get out? Well, we have ways to do that, and that's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to go over here to the table, and I'm going to show you what I have. And I'm really going to emphasize that everybody should have some type of emergency communication. Emergency communication has saved many lives, and in disaster situations, search and rescues, everything. And if we have, let's say, any type of conflict, civil unrest or whatever, then you're going to need these types of systems. Because as you know, through most big disasters, people jump on their cell phones and they'll clog the whole system. Therefore, they get busy signals or the cell system doesn't work. And I will talk about that a little bit more as we go on here, and explaining the difference between your cell phone or your landline, what happens if your landline goes out, things of this nature. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to quit yapping right here, and we're going to go on over the radios on the table, and I'm going to show you what we have and tell you what you need here, because emergency communication is the way to go. Okay, here we are at the table. Now I will talk and zoom in on each one here. First of all, the noise you've been hearing is this unit right here. Perfect time for it to go off. And I will turn it off. This is the scanner. I can scan over 200 different channels with this thing. And it is a lifesaver. We've used it and listened to it every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And it has an external plug, and it only runs on 9 or 12 volts. I have two of them. One runs on 9 and one runs on 12. So that's something that you're going to want to definitely know and look about. Now, a scanner is set up on the same way as a CB radio or anything else. See on the very top here, you've seen the long thing that's an antenna. But those two dials right there, the one on the left is your squelch. The one on the right is your volume, your on and off switch. And that little hole right there in dead center of your screen right now on top of there is for your headset, so you can listen to it quietly if you want. This is programmable, 100% programmable, so you can put in your local fire stations, police, sheriffs, whatever you need, aircraft. I listen to ham, aircraft, everything you could dream of I listen to on that scanner right there. Now I'm going to reach right over here and turn this thing off, because it will be making a lot of noise during the time that we're doing our talk here. And so there you go. That's a scanner, and this one ran me just a hair over $100. But I've had it for several years now, and it's definitely, we got our use out of it for sure. Okay, now another thing that I want to talk to you about is your other means of communication. The scanner there is just for listening, just for hearing what's going on out in the world around you. The first thing I'll talk about is these small handheld radios right here. Now these two right here radios, they're great. And you see many different types out there. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them in anywhere you want. A little antenna and everything. These have 21 channels or 22 channels on them. And they have privacy channels, meaning you can set up your own channel with kind of what they call a sideband. Meaning you can be on the channel, but just a little bit off, so you and your friends and family can talk. But nobody else can interrupt on your conversations unless they know the exact channel you're on. Okay, and as you see, this has a programming mode on it right here. Not a programming, but the mode for communications. These are audio Vox, and they work pretty good out on the ranch here, on the compound. Have your this does volume, and then the Vox on the left-hand bottom side there means that you can communicate without having to push a button. Usually it will go and it'll turn the Vox on, and then I'll say something. Now these units right here I use on the property, and we can talk to each other over a mile away easily, and we live in the mountains here. Now always remember, with your radio communications on something like this right here, or any handheld walkie-talkie system, whether it be CB or this, and this is not a CB, these are different setups, but they work very, very well, and they only use 4 AAA batteries. With the scanner over here, the way I was talking, it uses 4 AA batteries. So as you can see, and each one of these, the scanner and these radios right here, have little plug-ins, so you can set them in their station and continually listen to them while they're charging as well. So that's very important. Now, the reason I bring up the battery situation is because it's very important to be able to run your household or your radios and everything if the grid is down. Now we have satellite, therefore we have my little laptop computer here. I have several computers. This is my ThinkPad. Now the good thing about having satellite on your property and everything is because if everything else goes down, the satellite does not depend on relay stations or anything. It depends on satellite. So if you have your satellite set up and you're producing your own power, you're off the grid, nothing is going to affect you except for an EMP, and we'll talk about that last. But you can contact your family members and everything on your little computer, and this is my ThinkPad. I really like this little thing. It came from good people, Chris and Cherie Geo, and Truth Frequency Radio, where I do a lot of radio shows. And in an emergency situation, I have used this. I have done it. I've used Skype, and I have used Facebook to keep in touch with people while everything else is down, because we produce our own power. We have our own satellite system. So that's another way. So now we've talked about listening, finding out things ahead of time with your scanner. We've talked about the little handheld radios that you just clip onto your belt and you can run around your home. And my wife and I use them in town. I can be in, shall we say, Walmart, and she can be in Target across the street, and we can still talk to each other in totally different stores. Or if I choose to sit outside and do nothing but sit in the car and listen to radio, or, because I don't want to go into a store, I can communicate with her on the inside. So if she has a question, I can answer it. But in an emergency situation, these things are invaluable. You need to have them in town, out of town, everywhere. Excuse me. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to talk about is this little radio in between these two. This is a CB radio. It has this little mic, as you can see right there. There's the mic for it. There's a little CB radio. This is a 40-channel CB radio. Runs off 12 volts. As a matter of fact, I will show you a picture of the antenna, or I'll give you a short clip of the antenna as soon as we're done here. But this has 40 channels. It has squelch. It has volume and everything, just like the other little radios. But it hooks to a large antenna. It's outside your house. Now, as you can see, I've disconnected all these to bring them outside and show you. But right here, you have, there you go, your on and off switch, which is the far left round button. Here's squelch, which is the middle button. And then the center one you see here, you could put this on different channels. You can put it on channel 9 or 19, which are emergency channels. And as you can see, this is a TRC 503 CB radio. It's all digital. And this is a switch that you turn around and you can go to 1 to 40 on your channels. Okay, now they have sidebands and stuff, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about basic radios. And there's the mic. Now I have a power mic on one of my other radios, which also increases your ability to reach out and touch someone. Now I want to talk about other radios. Oh, one thing I want to touch up before I touch on my shortwave radios. This is an AM. Here's CB. My shortwave radios can go pretty much any spectrum, the ones on the end here. But the little boxes that you see on top are SWR meters. And I use one of these with each one of my setups, each one of my radios, because then I can set my attenuation, pretty well perfect in my testing, setting everything up. I've got a small one there, and then I have a larger one over here. And I use these whenever I'm setting things up. You need to study a little bit about radios. You don't have to study a lot because they're pretty basic, but they're quick to understand and easy to know what's going on. So the center one is CB radio. That is what I have in my house. I have in my trucks, all my cars, no matter where I am. I can communicate with the wife with the CB radio and these small radios right here. This is our normal communication when we're not talking by phone. This over here is a 2-meter radio right here. It is not a CB radio. This is shortwave. And of course it has its mic. There's its cable and everything. And there's its mic right there. And these are great to have. I talk to people all over the place with this. Like I said, this is a simple 2-meter. The switches that you see down below here. And you need a license to run these shortwaves, by the way. But in an emergency situation, you do not need a license. An emergency is an emergency. You jump on any radio you can and you use it. And you will not get in trouble. These are for relay stations. These are for the relays that are up on the mountains and everything. But sometimes you don't need those. Depends on sunspot activity. You can get skip, and you'll understand a lot more about that when you start studying your radios. This is a 2-meter radio. I talk to all the little towns and everything around my area and my friends all over the place. In my neck of the woods, as we say, in Northern California, Southern Oregon, things. But the relay, the repeaters, really help you talk a long distance. So you'll learn about those a little bit. Maybe I'll talk about them in another video. This is a 10-meter setup. This is my 10-meter radio. And I can reach out and touch someone with my 10-meter. Meaning I can talk pretty much anywhere I want. And if I get a good day and the good sun conditions, atmospheric conditions for skip, then I can talk, 10, 20 times the distance that I would normally talk. But these are the things that you will need in an emergency situation. If you want to be prepared, you want to be set up, and you can see everything right here. You want to have your computer, you want to have satellite on your property, and you want to be able to produce your own power. So if everything else goes out, you can still communicate with your family via Skype or Facebook instant messaging or some type of other instant messaging. We have our scanner right here that we listen to everything that's going on out there. If there's a fire, a flood, or emergency situation, or even car wrecks, we understand, okay, that road's blocked, let's go around another way. Excellent for bugging out, and excellent for just knowing what's going on around you. Then we have our little handhelds here, and we have our little CB radio. Okay, these are our normal means of communication for the wife and I. Wherever we're traveling, if I'm in one vehicle and she's in another, we can still communicate with one another without using a cell phone. And yes, you can set these up with headsets and everything. Same thing with these right here. Your 2 meters, now that's this right here. It could reach out and touch somebody, and it's on shortwave. So you're using frequencies that any of these other radios are not using. So you have a higher chance of a clear channel. Over here we have the 10 meter. And now I can really reach out and touch somebody with this. But once again, these are our radios for emergency communication and for family communication and friends communication, really across your entire local area and the planet. Now I can go up higher in my shortwave radios. I have another one in the house, but that's a pretty good sized radio, and I didn't want to bring it out here. But here you go. This is your communication needs. And I don't have a cell phone here because you all have one stuck in your pocket, or, on your car or something like that. And it's very important to know if your cell phone and everything goes down, then you do have these other means of communication that you see right here. Okay, now with that said, I'm going to switch from here and go to the antenna up here and just talk a little bit about it. Now I advise one thing: when you have lines leading from any of these devices, these radios here, to your antenna, never have over really 100 feet of line. Anything over that, and you're kind of hampering yourself. So here you are. You got your 2 shortwave meters on the outside, radios on the outside. You have your SWR meters on top of each one of those. You have your little shortwave, CB radio in the middle. Then you got your little handhelds right here. You have your scanner for listening, knowing what's going on out there when disaster strikes. And you have your computer. If you have a computer system, a satellite system at home, and you're independent power, or even if you have a generator, you can hook your computer systems and everything into it and still talk on Skype, still talk on Facebook, and do your normal stuff, which we have done in the middle of disasters. Now, the one thing I will say about a computer and satellite, if you have a major thunderhead directly over you, your Skype and everything, computer systems and satellite will break up. Because that's a lot of electromagnetic discharge going on with lightning and things of that nature. That's the only thing about your computer. But you still can get through emails, things like that too. So there you go, your basic communication equipment right there. And you should remember them well. Let's talk about an antenna. I'll show you one. I will not show you the shortwave antenna because it's strung in between two trees and you really can't see the wire. But look at your shortwave attenuation. Go on YouTube. You can find a lot out about antennas there and how to set them up for shortwaves, and they're very, very, very simple and easy to do. So I'll show you my CB antenna right now first. Okay, here we are. I'm going to go right on out the pole. This is my base station CB antenna. I can reach out and touch somebody with this. Your regular radios will run so many watts, up to 5 or 7, something like that. But I have a 45 watt base station inside that can really kick out there. But I have this also hooked up with a switch on it that can go from one radio to another. I use the CB on the table that you've seen there as a main communication in my valley and around the area. So there you go, and you can see it's pretty high up there. I got this thing probably 20 feet up in the air, maybe a little higher. And excellent for CB communication. Okay, let's look back at the table. Okay, well there you go. That's what you need. We're going to look at these things one more time. I'll give you a close-up. Okay, there you go. 10 meter CB radio. SWR meter to help you set up your attenuation. Things like that. A shortwave, CB radio in the center. Another 2 meter shortwave radio. You'll understand. Do a little bit of studying on these things. A scanner, so you can hear what's going on in your area. You all have computers, so if you've got a satellite system at your house and you produce your own power, it doesn't matter what's happening out there. You're going to be able to use your computer, communicate with your family through Facebook, instant messaging, or Facebook, however, and Skype. I do it all the time. You have your small 2 handheld radios right there, and that is very, very important because you can have, with these small radios right here, and with the CB in your vehicles, you have emergency communication 24/7, 365 days a year. Everything can run off a 12-volt battery. Even the computer can run off a 12-volt battery and inverter that you can hook up, just plug your computer right into. So you can run that off your car. But like I said, if you've got satellite at home, and I'd advise it, I advise getting off the grid and creating your own power, because no matter what happens out there with everything going down, then you can continually be running. Okay, there you go. That's on your emergency communication right there. You've learned a little bit about shortwave radios, CB radios, the little handheld radios, scanners. And on a scanner, the good thing is you can set any channels you want. You got 200 that you can scan. And you have different banks within there. It all tells you about it in the instructions. Easy to set up, very easy to use. And you have your computer system. We talked about cell phones. Everybody carries them. But in a disaster situation, like I said, a lot of times everything's going to get jammed up and go down, with the exception of your emergency communication systems. So study them, learn all you can, get them set up for yourself, and you're going to find out that, well, you can sit at home and you can talk to your wife when she's out there doing shopping in town. Or if you're in your car and your family's in another car and a disaster strikes and you need to get to them, you can talk to them without using a cell phone, and very few other people hearing you. You can set up your own codes. Funny book, I've talked about that before, where you can say, I'm going to go to Uncle Harry's, and it really means meet me at Walmart, or something of this nature. So learn everything you can. It's all about educating yourself, and that's what it is about, and being prepared. That's what this whole video thing is about. So, get prepared. Get yourself some handhelds. Get yourself a CB radio. Hook one up in your house. Hook one, a good base station. Hook one up in all your cars, and you have instant communication. If I'm 5 miles away from my wife and I don't know where she's at, I can call on my radio and just drive through town. As soon as she hears me, she's going to answer that call, and I'll know exactly where she is. So this is William Whitecrow saying, get yourself set up with some good communication means besides your regular phones, because you're going to need it one day. All right, have a good day, and learn to communicate.